everyone, and welcome to the Orgena Rose Show. I'm Orgena Rose, and I'm here with none other than Dave Austin. He is a former professional athlete, a world-ranked tennis player, also an author, and right now a mental performance coach for the top athletes you watch on your TV right today. Please welcome to the show, Dave Austin.
Hey.
Hello, Dave.
Oh, thank
Hello.
you, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. And it's just what a gorgeous Southern California night. The excitement, we're in the parking lot, you know, a game's gonna be about ready to be played. Life is being lived right as we speak.
Right here, and we're in the middle of it. We're right across the street from the fabulous Angel Stadium, which is where we were going to do this.
Well, yeah, I kind of pulled a curve. Can I tell? I pulled a curve on her. We were gonna do it in the dugout because she was a guest on our show. We have a radio show out of the Angel Stadium. But I said, such faith and such magic are, you know, happened here for my son. I said, can we do it across the street? And you were so kind to say, yeah, let's go with it. Let's talk about faith. Let's talk about it.
Because
persistence and
it really is about that. You have this thing called the process, right?
Yes.
That you use with your athletes. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, absolutely. I've been blessed to do what I got to play professional tennis, but now it's so much fun to pass on how to get mentally prepared for a game. But I bring, you know,
so much
a lot more than psychology to it.
Yeah.
But the process is something I developed years ago where I challenged myself. You know, at first I said, how can I be better today? Because whether your results, I mean, success and failure are completely tied to your daily habits.
Yes.
So I have a thing called
results.
Winning habits. You know, so how do I
like
have winning habits each day so I live life more fully, how I think we're meant to be? And so I thought, okay, what can I do? And this whole thing just came to me. It's called the process. Do you want to know the process?
Please.
All right. So first of all, you know, God has given us this incredible beauty of nature. I mean, look how fantastic it is. So first of all, just taking a moment to appreciate what's here for us. I zone in on three things in nature and go, wow. And then I see it at a whole different level. And my feeling is that nature loves to be appreciated, and it sends back. It's a give and take. It's how life is meant to be. So I feel inspired just by that relationship. I don't feel apart from it. So I just breathe it in, and it starts closing down the chatter in my own head. That's step one. Now step two is then, you know, there can be no darkness where there's light, right?
Yes.
So I circle myself what I call a divine white light.
I love that.
And so I see it. I close my eyes and I see the white light of love and positive energy. So, you know, can't pierce, I'm sorry, darkness has no chance in light. Shine a flashlight in a dark corner, it is no longer a dark corner.
Right.
So I do that, and then I circle every one of my loved ones. My wife, each of my kids, I go through each of my relatives, and even, this is a challenge, but I found it's really effective. Let's say I have an issue with someone that, you know, we're not that getting along.
Right.
I circle them in love.
Yes.
It just diffuses pain and agony and suffering, and it's the best thing to do.
Well, and that's what we've been called to do, isn't it?
That's
right?
it.
It says
That's
it's easier to love your friends who agree with you and already love you, but what about those that you might not get along with, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I know the power of that energy, and it's worked beautifully. So that's step two.
Okay.
Then step three, you know, I've always, part of my training program I give to athletes, and I train business people too. I mean, it's both.
Yes.
You know, what you feed will grow. What you starve will die. So step three is thinking about all the things I'm grateful for. Really, you know, wow. All of a sudden I just, you know, even if I've had a fight with my wife, when I start going, I am so grateful. We've been married for 28 years. How awesome she is. All of a sudden, any of that, what was I mad at?
Right. What was that?
So then I think about my kids and what an honor it is that God's given me the opportunity to have these precious 4 boys in my life. So, you know, that just lifts my whole, my whole spirit.
It changes everything.
It changes everything because what most people are doing, they have dreams and desires and they're trying to get there. So instead, I come from the energy of it. I come from the dream rather than trying to get to the dream.
Nice.
And part of gratitude makes a huge difference in your life. So when you're grateful and you grow that's what I'd like to grow a lot more of, you know, because why grow the stuff you're mad at?
Well,
are
then that's going to
afraid of.
expand, right?
Right,
That's
exactly.
going to get bigger.
It's going to get bigger. So
starve that.
that's step 3.
Excellent.
Then step 4,
Ooh.
I do a visualization, and that's a little bit why we're here. That's why I said we had to
We're
run across
going to
here.
get in that in just a moment. Yes.
I do a visualization, so I see how what a visualization does. It brings your life to order. You just, there's a lot of things going on, and you just bring it into order, and you see it ahead of time. So with professional athletes, the reason they hire me so much is I'm called the Viz guy, because they see exactly who they want to be, and then they just live into their video.
Yes.
And it's amazing.
Yes.
It's amazing what takes place. So that's step 4. And then what I do now, since I've been through this, I always have a notebook with me that I put the date, and then I allow a voice larger than me that dwells within me.
Yes.
But I now am in a position just to, I have clearance, I just write. And all the answers, I've written best-selling books, but I have to be honest with you, okay? It's a little behind the scenes.
Yes.
It's way beyond me. I wasn't that bright in school. I was okay. But the stuff I write now, I can call brilliant because I allow myself to let it flow through me.
Absolutely. I call those divine downloads.
That's exactly what it is. But I've put myself into a position to really hear a voice because I've shut down. We have over 60,000 thoughts a day that, get in our way.
Yes.
And when you're allowed to just allow that greater presence to be there, it's amazing what happens.
Yes.
So can I tell you why we're here rather than...
Well, actually, we're going to tell them when we come right back.
Okay.
Okay? All right. So come right back and we will find out more about why we are standing here in front of the Honda Center and about how that ties in with visualization. So come right back with us in a moment. All right, and we are back with Dave Austin, and we're going to tell you a little bit about why we are standing here right in front of the Honda Center and a little bit more about this visualization piece. So you have a really amazing story to share around this. It's really phenomenal. Will you tell us a little bit about
surreal.
it?
It's like, it's amazing. So I threw a curve on Orgena today because, when she came on the show, we went in the dugout. It was so cool to be there. I thought, oh, let's film in here. Yeah. But something that just took place, I felt inspired this had to be. So every time I drive to come to this stadium to do the radio show, I get off right here, right at the Honda Center. Yes. And I learned 5 months ago that my son's team, he plays professional football. He plays quarterback for Cleveland in the Arena Football League. So as I pull off, I'd be stopped at this light right here in front of us. And I would close my eyes and I'd visualize seeing Shane playing. And I just get such a smile on my face. I see him doing great things and actually becoming player of the game, right? A great moment.
Right.
So I've been doing this for 5 months. And then now, fast forward, so this just took place this last Saturday night, right here. So 5 months of doing this. Well, here, 3 weeks ago, it was like, but he's not starting. Because the quarterback at Cleveland was their starting quarterback who came back, and even though he had a great camp, he was the back. I'm thinking, well, how's that fitting into my visualization? Well, I'll leave the details to God, and I'll just kind of, I like what I seen, and I'm going to live in that. And say, whatever happens, I surrender, we'll talk about more.
Yes, we will.
But I surrender whatever it is.
Yes.
No one can take my joy away other than me.
Exactly.
So I say, it's going to be great.
That.
So.
So he wasn't even playing.
He wasn't even playing.
Just so everyone really hears that, he wasn't even playing.
Wasn't even playing. So all right. So 3 games ago, they're down by 20 points, and he comes in the second half, and it's funny because he's replacing an MVP quarterback. Whoa. And most coaches won't do that, but he believed enough in Shane.
Okay.
And anyway, that was right there. That was an exclamation point.
Yes, it was.
He comes in. 34 unanswered points later, he is the MVP of the game.
Oh my God.
It's amazing what takes place. And then he's voted the MVP of the entire league. His first chance to get in and play. So then the next game, he doesn't start again because you're not going to give up on the other guy.
Sure.
But he had a shorter leash, and he went one series and threw an interception. Boom, they bring in Shane. 6 touchdowns. 2 running touchdowns, 8 touchdowns total. Later, he's the player of the game again.
Oh
so
my
now
God.
we're here just the other night, and it's his first start.
So your vision
My
that you had
vision
for 5 months
for 5 months
came true.
I never gave up on it though. And the thing that was so cool about it, because there was questions I had.
Yes.
But when you surrender to victory, not in defeat, of like, it's all good.
Yeah.
Just the fact that he's going to be here. I love being with him. The whole family will be together.
Yes.
I have 4 boys all coming together for this game. I thought it's still special. But I still saw him
starting.
Yeah.
I love it. Now, there's 3 things that really jump out from what you just said. One is you stayed in joy. I mean, you just stayed in the joy of your vision. You didn't go into all of how could that happen and what if and all of that.
Yeah.
You just stayed in the joy of that vision. Secondly, there's a really big distinction between the next 2 things of never giving up. But then there's the third piece where you surrendered. You surrendered the outcome. And for me, I mean, Dave, I think that's really huge, wouldn't you say?
Well, we had a major happening in our life that we really had to learn surrender at a whole different level.
Yeah.
But before I even go there, I got to end that story with Shane.
Yes.
So, today,
yes,
we heard he was MVP of the league again.
Again.
So 2 out of the 3 weeks he's played, he's been MVP of the entire league. And it's just, the fun part is when you talk about joy, I have to throw that.
Yes.
He's a young man who has lived in joy. And whatever adversity he's faced, he goes, how can I complain? How can I complain? I live in a beautiful place.
Yes.
I get to play the sport I love. And even if I don't get to play, I'm doing what I love. And I always ask him, whenever I talk to him, do you love what you're doing?
Yes.
And every time he answers yes, no matter what adversity there is,
yes,
then hey, keep going.
That's
keep going.
Doing what you love.
Yeah.
I think that's so, so important. Now, there's another reason why this is so spectacular that he's doing that.
Oh yeah. So
Right.
surrender.
Yes.
I was tested to go to surrender at the deepest level my wife and I have ever known. We've been blessed to have 4 boys. And I was back at the College World Series in Omaha, and I got a message from my wife saying, she was pregnant with our 4th boy about 7 weeks before he was to be born, and said there's some complications. I'm going over some tests. So I call our doctor. I'm thinking, oh man, he's such a positive guy.
Yeah.
I was really getting psyched out, and I get him on the phone. I'm all excited because he's going to help me not be worried.
Right.
He's crying, and he goes, "I'm so sorry, Dave. I'm so sorry. This is serious." And as he told me, he said, really, there was no chance for Daniel, and I might be losing my wife. And I heard this, and I was like, all the blood drained out of me, and I just like, gentleman that I was having lunch with came to me, and he saw me. He says, "Are you okay?" And I said, "It's serious. Just a moment." I went out to the parking lot, and I found nature, because you know how that means to me, and I prayed. And my prayers are different than they used to be. My prayer wasn't like, "Oh, why me?" It was like, "God, just be with me. Give us the strength."
Right.
I feel your presence in everything, so give me the strength and your healing grace, basically was the prayer. I got on the plane, flew home, and on the plane, I didn't tell you this, I had a message come, says, "Daniel needs to come out tonight." And I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to get there, and how am I going to tell the doctors that God spoke to me, and he has to come out tonight? I'm thinking, how am I going to tell them that? I don't know if I have the courage.
Right.
And I get to LA, I fly into LAX, and I look at it's 5:30, and I see it, it's the parking lot of 405.
Yes.
And I get there, and I get a message. Now back then, we didn't have cell phones, believe it or not. He's 15 years old today.
Okay.
So
wow.
So I get the I guess the pager is what we had. Remember that, folks? And so I called on a payphone. Hey, this is
wait a minute. Are they still around somewhere?
And I get the message from my wife, said, the doctors decided it had to be tonight. So at 7:20, we were having an emergency C-section. So I didn't go on 405, I drove the coast, and they had transferred to Oxnard at St. John's there, and I took the coast. I got there at 7:20.
Yes.
I get there, 9 specialists. And I've cried the whole way. I have to say I have a lot of faith.
Sure.
But
we're still
I
human,
get there,
right? Yeah.
And I get in, and there's 9 specialists, and Kathy, and she's telling all of them, she goes, "Guys, this is going to be fine. This will be absolutely fine." And they pulled me out into the hallway and said, "Your wife doesn't get it. She just doesn't know it. She doesn't know what's happening." I said, "No, she knows what's happening.
She's just not.
We're going to be fine." And they looked at me like, "Oh my gosh."
Both of them, right?
When I went and talked to her, she said, it was the strength of surrender, not like a failure. It's just like, we know that whatever happens, we're strong enough to take this.
Right.
Whatever it is, we can live with it because God in our life.
Right.
And so when he came out, they took him out, and he was purple and not breathing. They were trying to put life to him. They couldn't. They had an oxygen mask. And Kathy goes, "Go to him." I said, I could see she was fine. She was a pillar of strength. I went over to him, and I thought, do I do this? And I thought, do I not do this?
Right.
My dad, as I told you, took on machine gun fire at Iwo Jima, being a Navy chaplain without a gun. If he can do it for his faith, I can step up, even if they think I'm crazy.
Right.
I put my hand on Daniel's little leg, and I said, Daniel, I want you to feel the power of my love, our love. And I want you to feel the power of God's healing grace. And it was like electrical shock, and he just came to life.
Just like that.
Just for a moment, he looked into my eyes. We saw each other, and we knew, game on. We knew it. I had a knowing. It was like God's message to me. And so he went back into the coma. But they took him into intensive care, and a doctor came to me and said, I just want to let you know, Daniel won't make it through the night, so don't, I said, no, wait a minute. I said, and all of a sudden Daniel flinched. I said, did you see that? I'm not a doctor, but that's a sign. I believe in signs.
Yeah.
And he looked at me like, you are crazy. And I said, that's fine. I'll live in crazy if that's what it is. I actually believe in miracles, so I'm really crazy.
Right.
And so I said, that's just one sign. We're going to keep seeing more signs and more signs. And so each day there was an issue. And I would just pray and be with them, and the issue would go away. And they couldn't figure it out. In fact, it bothered them, believe it or not.
I love it.
And finally, the real kicker was his pH level was 6.8. And if you're 7 or 7.1, you can live, but you'll be a vegetable. Never in the history of medicine you can't even sustain life.
At 6.8.
At 6.8. But he's living, and they couldn't understand it. So, you know what? I said,
that. Well, I mean, something similar happened to me, which I haven't shared with you.
Oh, wow.
I went through a time when my hemoglobin was only 4.2.
Wow.
Now, normal levels are 11 point something to 16, and I was at 4.2. They said, this is what you normally see at people at the side of the road after a car accident when they bleed out. They're at like not enough blood for your brain to operate, for you to be functioning. Your heart is in heart failure because it doesn't have enough blood to pump. And this is how I was, and I was talking and operating and functional and so on. So I completely understand that.
It's funny. This was a life and death situation for you. It's a life and death situation for my son.
Yes.
So I was truly tested, because here I'm known as this coach that, create all these, call them miracles or whatever. They're not. They're just, I've learned how to live fully and help others live. Everyone, I feel, has a creative genius in them. God has given, I don't care what you do, has given us that. But our judgment of ourselves, our judgment of others, what we hear from others, we live in our conditions rather than create our conditions.
We put the blocks on. We put the constraints on.
We put ourselves in our own prisons. And we even hold the key while we're there.
We really do. And what I'd like to do is go into a little bit more of how you help people to take those keys,
I'd love
take
to.
those blocks, unlock it,
it,
and really live a full life. So we'll be right back. Come right back with us with Dave Austin. And we are back with Dave Austin, and we've just heard really a phenomenal story about your son, about doctors giving up, but you didn't. But there's a real distinction I would love to go a little bit further into around the difference between giving up and surrendering.
Oh, absolutely. That was the biggest lesson for us. We really learned a valuable lesson. By the way, Daniel's 15 years old today.
Yes.
He is our living miracle. If ever I think miracles don't really happen, I see this blonde-haired, blue-eyed, smiley boy that teaches us every day how to live in total joy. He is, there's not a happier kid on this planet. So for me, I realized that, so many times we think of surrender as it's over. We give up. When in truth is, when you surrender in victory, that's the greatest thing in the world for us. Even think back at Easter time, right? Friday, the darkest day.
Right.
It is terrible, And we out of it, we got the greatest victory in life.
Right.
And so knowing that, when you surrender to knowing that no matter what happens, whatever adversity there is.
Right. No matter how dark it is.
No matter how dark it is, there is the resurrection of life. Every day it can happen. So I wake up and I go, this is a brand new day. It's a new baby day,
I love that.
How am I going to live it and be full? So, you asked about what I do in coaching.
Yes.
I just help those realize that, whatever adversity, whatever is there, I'll use the word surrender.
Yes.
If you surrender to that, you know what? It's all perfect, and I'll find the good in it. I'll find the good in it. There's nothing but good in anything, even as tough as it looks.
Yes.
You know,
a choice.
it's a choice.
Yes.
We have a choice, and one of the reasons I'm even in this business is that with my dad being a Navy chaplain, we had to move around a lot, and I had to keep reinventing myself almost. But I found coaches. One would say, you know, you're really good, and I go, oh, I'm really good. And another coach would say, you're really bad. I'll go, oh, I'm really bad.
Right.
And I lived my life whatever they told me I was.
Right.
So really diving in and learning that there's a strength within us that when we learn how to really, instead of just react to our conditions,
Yes.
we learn how to create our conditions. And you know what? The coolest and neatest thing is I've learned processes, not just the one process I gave you,
Sure.
that you develop so you really step into that strength. And I think that's how God intended us to live.
I believe that.
You know,
Absolutely.
and so, and in living in that, there is, you know, you look at some things that I've been able to be a part of in sports, you know, going with the U.S. Olympic team and having the best results in the history of their sport. All it is that there's more strength and positive energy than negative energy. You know, I've helped the Dodgers win a pennant. I've had so many athletes that have gone on to do great things that now I get to do it with business leaders too.
Yes.
That is so much fun because everyone that I'm able to affect, how does that spread out? Because if they start living this, then all the people they see, it's really more important what we are than what we say. Because that's really the teaching. You know, you get to the point that your very presence is the living example.
Already, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I really love that distinction and how you tie in, you know, here from you, we've heard a 3-generational story, which I really love. You know, we've got your father, we've got you, and we've got your sons.
You know, I get chills in that because I look at my father who, and I just tell you, here's where a lot of this comes from. At Iwo Jima, the symbol of our freedom.
Yes.
The chaplains are supposed to come on the last, you know, wave.
Yes.
And when the admirals came and said, okay, where's Chaplain Austin? We're ready to go to shore. And the young sailor said, well, sir, he went on the first boat. And he led the charge at Iwo Jima without a gun. He did it just on his faith because he knew that he was giving communion in the foxholes because he knew he needed to be there with them. Wow. And you know, we even asked him. We knew he was Iwo Jima. He was there, but we didn't know he led the charge. And we're like, we're lucky to be alive.
Right.
And said, Dad, why?
Right.
He says, because that's where I was needed most. Now you talking about faith.
Hello.
He goes, I love God and I love my Marines. And so anytime I get a little shallow, when I can, I go, my dad took on machine gun fire for his faith.
Right.
Can I step into this?
Right.
And that was really the strength even in the Daniel story. I kept thinking of my dad.
Yes.
He never backed down. I mean, he had to bury so many of his friends and Marines on that island.
Yes.
And many islands, because he was at Saipan and led the charge there too.
Wow.
You know, and I think, how does he do that? Because he has such faith that no matter what. And that's been a guiding light for me to help me guide others.
Yes. And now those who you are helping and guiding, they get to now share their gifts in the world, shine their light, and the world just becomes a better place each time.
You know, I had the precious gift of speaking at the UN. You know, it's like, cool, you know, and I have my programs called Beast Mode. I know that sounds funny, but we use animals to trigger.
Right.
So you remember right now, no, this is who I am.
Yes.
When that negative voice speaks to you and it's tempting, you kind of go, wait a minute, no, you know,
Beast.
This is who I am. and because animals teach us a lot.
Yes, they do.
So, Michelle Patterson, who puts on the California Women's Conference, tells the whole UN, Dave Austin has us all in beast mode. And, you know, and then there was a VIP reception, and an ambassador comes and goes, I like to be in beast mode. How do I be in beast mode?
I love it.
Oh God, this is what I live for.
Yes.
Have those moments.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And that's what we all, I believe, live for. That's what the show is all about, why I do what I do, to help shine a light on people like you who are really making a tremendous difference in the world. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. But keep being that, you know, she said it, she shines her light on the world. So you're the lighthouse. So others can find their true identity through the gift you're bringing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Dave, it's an absolute pleasure.
My joy.
Thank you. And we will be right back after this.